and thank you everyone for joining us today for our mechanical, electrical, and plumbing trades session. This morning we have with us Wayburn Henry Jr., who is with TD Industries. Wayburn, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your company and what you guys do.
Thanks for having me. Again, my name is Wayburn Henry. I currently work with TD Industries. We are a mechanical contractor here in the Houston area. So we install plumbing and HVAC systems. We also have a facility service and a truck-based service team, which go out and do maintenance on AC and plumbing systems.
Awesome. So very important parts of the building. We all, especially living in Houston, it's quite hot most of the year. So having AC and electrical that works well is quite important to us. So we'll jump in a little bit. We hopefully we'll get Willie here as well to help answer some of these questions. But in the meantime, TD does mechanical work. So if you can tell us a little bit about how you would describe the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing aspects of the commercial industry.
I guess I would say it kind of fits in our tagline, which is at the heart of your building. Mm-hmm. It's kind of, if you think about, the body, that's where your heart is what makes everything tick. Mm-hmm. Without AC and plumbing, you're going to have a hot and probably stinky building. That's how I would describe the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing.
Excellent, right? Like we said earlier, it's kind of it's the heart of the building, and if we don't have that, we would have a hard time convening together in schools and in office buildings, and even just in our homes. I mean, Thanksgiving is coming up, and so people will probably have all their families over, and just being able to keep everybody cool and comfortable and enough, water for the plumbing and everything is very important to us. So how long have you been in the industry and in your position?
In the industry, I've been in the industry for 4.5 years. In my position, I've been in my role for 2 years, which I'm a scheduling manager. I basically handle manpower forecasting and training. It's kind of a hybrid role because I am the hiring manager for the field trades. So pipe fitters, plumbing, and sheet metal mechanics in both of our construction groups, I have a part in hiring them. And we're also developing we have an apprenticeship program, but we're upgrading it. And so I'm a part of the committee that is upgrading that. So that's kind of what my last few months have been.
So you mentioned that you guys have an apprenticeship program. Can you talk to us a little bit about what an apprenticeship program would look like for your industry, for the mechanical and plumbing? Yeah,
so we will bring somebody in that likes to be hands-on, because that's what this job is you're hands-on with everything. Mm-hmm. We would pair you up with a mentor. If you have some skills coming into it, we would, assess what skills you have and then determine what type of training you would need. And then we would, take you through the steps of each part of the trade. So a plumber, you would have to be in the role for, or you'd be a plumber minimum of 4 years. A pipe fitter, typically around 3 years as an apprentice. And then sheet metal, same, about 3 years as an apprentice, and then you'd advance to the next area. But other than plumbing, the sheet metal and pipe fitting is kind of be based on how fast you learn and how much you're exposed to. So if you're on a lot of jobs and you get a lot of exposure to different aspects of the job and what it entails to be a sheet metal mechanic or a pipe fitter, journeyman pipe fitter, you can advance a little bit faster than that 3 years.
Awesome. And when you talk about apprenticeships, just for those who may not be familiar, that is paid experience, correct? So they wouldn't just be volunteering at that time. As they learn, they would be able to earn as well, correct?
Yes. It's a paid experience. They're not going to put you out there and make you figure it out on your own. We're going to pair you up with the necessary tools that you need to grow. We'll give you kind of like a basic tool list of what you should have. And what I always tell people when I hire them in, Green, is, you know, each paycheck you should be buying a tool until you get your full set of tools. That's going to leave you a lot of money left. You're not going to spend all your money on tools. You just buy one a week and you'll get what you need, or get where you need to be. Like you mentioned, it's paid and it's free training. I mean, you're getting someone that's going to teach you something hands-on, and, you know, take you with them every step of the way until you learn what you need to learn to be able to work on your own.
Awesome. So I wouldn't have to particularly go to college just to be able to start with you guys. You pair me up with someone, like you said, and I can learn and get trained right there on the job with a mentor who'll kind of guide me through the process. That's
correct.
awesome.
And yep.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying correct.
Okay. And you kind of alluded to it earlier, but what would a typical day, pardon me, what would a typical day look like in these roles?
So you typically start with stretch and flex. We do kind of a pre-task safety plan. Because safety is huge in this industry, and you got to plan out your day. And you're not going to plan it out by yourself. You're going to have people. You're going to collaborate with your foreman and other trades. Talk about, hey, what are we doing today? What are the potential hazards? What can we? How can we make sure we go home the way we came in? Is basically how I describe the PSP or PTSP. So those things are turned into the general contractor, but you also have it with you, so you kind of have a plan. Because you may not remember it all, but you have that plan to see how do you continue to stay safe throughout your day.
Absolutely. Safety is a huge, huge, huge part in this industry. And I think the fact that you guys emphasize that is awesome. So if we're talking to high school students today, so what kind of skills or abilities and interests would these high schoolers need to have to join your organization and be successful? I know typically before I was a little bit more knowledgeable about construction, I might think, oh, I just need to be able to work outside. But just listening to what you just mentioned about, you know, collaborating with others to make sure that we're safe, that would include some additional skills, right? Some people skills. I need to be able to communicate. So can you talk to us a little bit about what some of those skills outside of just working with my hands I would need to be successful?
Yeah, I mean, depending on the route that you choose, you know, pipe fitters, you might need to be, you know, pretty good with math, because there is a lot of math involved with pipe fitting. So the stuff they tell you in school that you won't use it, you will use math, you know, once you get a different career. You know, it's just being on time, being reliable, being flexible, because your day might not go the way it's planned out. So you got to be flexible and be resourceful. If you don't know it, you don't know how it's supposed to go in, ask questions. So just having a drive to learn is huge. That's all we ask for, is a good attitude and willing to learn, ability to learn. And it's not rocket science. It's kind of like a puzzle. You know, the pieces that you're putting together, you don't have to figure out the hard part as an apprentice, but as you grow in the trade and you start to understand it better, then you'll be the one figuring out where the puzzle pieces go.
So if I like to take my radio apart at home, this might be a good industry for me to look into, right? I can kind of figure out where those pieces fit and kind of what works best and play around with it a little bit and figure out that solution.
Absolutely. Yeah, that would be right up our alley.
Yeah, perfect. So are there any certifications that you would need to get in the MEP trades? Are there like local or state certifications that I would have to be kept up on?
So kind of go through each trade. So as a plumber, you have to register as a plumbing apprentice, and continue to track your hours, which you don't physically track them. Your HR group would be able to pull those hours for you, but you would get you'd have an apprentice license, and you carry that for 4 years, and then you'd be eligible to go ahead and sit for a test. And that's going to be in Austin. Well, yeah, it's typically in Austin. Sheet metal and pipe fitting, there's not an apprentice card. You could get like safety certs like OSHA 10 are good. So if you're in a CTE course or a class and they give you the opportunity to get OSHA 10, that's definitely huge in our industry. Other than that, there's not a lot of certifications that you need going into it. There's a lot of things that you would get working under us. We would get you the training and get you the certifications needed.
That was actually going to be one of my questions is, does the company sponsor if there is a certification? But you just answered that. So with TD Industries, you would make sure that I have all of the certifications and skills and training that I need. And I think that's very important in this industry, especially for these high schoolers to understand if they do want to go into mechanical or electrical or plumbing, just making sure that you're getting with an organization that is going to do exactly what TD is doing with an apprenticeship program and investing that training in them so that they can be skilled and ready to rock when they get out there and they graduate from that apprenticeship program. Hi, good morning, Willie. We've got Willie Ramos joining us, and Willie is coming to us from CFI Mechanical. He's a project manager there. Willie, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself for just a moment and tell us a little bit about what CFI Mechanical does and what you do with the company. You're on mute, Willie.
So we are a plumbing and mechanical company as well. And we are also our apprentices, they are from the United Association of Plumbers and Pipe Fitters, which is a organization which is Houston Area Joint Apprenticeship Committee. So these apprentices, they get hired. We get them through the hall, and they are also they go through a 5-year training program. And in the training program, they start off as provisionals. From the provisionals, they go through the 5-year program, and the goal is for them to get their plumbing license. During that time, they go through all the classes, the OSHA 30, first aid CPR. They go through a lot of variants of equipment training, rigging. So they go through all the aspects of the class. And the intent and the goal is that they work towards going and that they're working and they're going to school. They go to school during the week, and the individuals that are out of town, like let's say College Station and Beaumont, they'll go in on Saturdays. They attend classes on Saturdays. And it's regulated by the state because it is an accredited apprenticeship program. So they have the minimum hours, which they do. And like the ultimate goal is that they get all the training that they need. They go through code classes. Our industry changes a lot. It's changed dramatically, especially nowadays with a lot of the plastics that's coming in. The engineers are changing the buildings just because of the buildings are greener, they're more efficient, they're cleaner. So that changes our industry dramatically, especially on the HVAC side. They're more, the buildings are very much automated. You open up a laptop, you don't have to be there. You just do it off site. So it's pretty amazing how advanced everything has been and how much everything has changed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, technology is changing every industry, and it's not escaping construction, right? So what I'm hearing is that the learning is never going to stop. Both you and Wayburn spoke about the apprenticeship program and how they would learn and go to school and earn while they acquire the skills to be able to get out there on their own and become a journeyman. But then they continue to learn, right? As those codes change and as the engineers upgrade the buildings, as our weather kind of creates different circumstances where we have to become knowledgeable. What does continuing education look like for you guys? Willie, I'm going to ask you to jump in here and give Wayburn a little bit of break. But once we finish the apprenticeship program, what does that continued learning look like? How does the company support that as well?
Okay, so the state of Texas, to get a plumbing in order to do to work at to do plumbing as an apprentice, they have to be registered by the state. And when they're registered by the state, they have to go through, they have to have a clean record because they do check their background. And that's very important, especially for young people, having a clean record because it's you're going into hospitals, you're going into schools, and you have to, they do background checks.
Right. We talked a little bit earlier about additional skills other than just working with your hands that you need to have to be successful. And that's absolutely one for sure. I'm glad you mentioned it.
Mm-hmm. And then, so what happens after you have your plumbing license and you get your license with the state of Texas, every year you have continuous education. The continuous education is held at various locations. There's a lot of, they do it throughout the Texas. There's all kinds of companies that do it. Hapjack does it. There's several other companies that do it. And so what they have is they get together. There's a 6 hours of continuous training, and what they do, the books are made by, a lot of times the books are manufactured and printed through people that are in the industry, and they get approved by the Texas State Board. Once they're approved, they come into play, and what they happen is you go through the book, and it's 6 hours, one-on-one contact, and it's every year. If you do not get your continuous education and you let it lapse for over 2 years, then basically your license goes away because you have to it gets basically you no longer have a plumbing license. Then you basically have to start all over. And so, once they start it, that's what it is every year. Now, keep in mind also about our industry is there's also not only the plumbing license, but you also have MedGas. So when you're dealing with MedGas, that's a different, things are changing now with the MedGas. So it used to be the medical gas systems, because that's part of the plumbing work. Medical gas systems also have a separate class that you have to take, and you have to take brazing, and you learn medical gas systems through the, think about that book. It's through, bear with me. Okay, here we go. NFPA 99. So it's the it's a national MedGas code that's what we follow with the medical gas. And with the MedGas, it's actually changing now because in the city of Houston, they're going off of there's a new standard that these hospitals are adding, which is the ASSC 6010. And the city of Houston is currently finalizing, and they're going to start implementing that new guideline in 2021. So what happens is now there's an outside company that you also have to take a written test, and then you have to have a practical part on the brazing. So you have the plumbing license, you have the MedGas endorsements, and then you also have backflow prevention. Backflow prevention is through TCEQ. Once again, that's another add-on to your license. And once again, that's every 3 years, you have to go through training. You have to go through continuous education where you're testing the backflow preventers. And what the backflow preventers does, it basically protects the domestic water systems so that you don't have it contaminated. So you don't have chemicals introducing into the water when you don't have a reversal flow through back pressure or back siphonage. So
you want to make sure what flows out of the building stays out of the building, and what's supposed to cleanly run into the building is coming into the building.
Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of there's a lot to the plumbing license, and there's a lot of moving parts. Then of course you have the green, the green initiative, which you have the where when you have these construction buildings that are because there's several different types of green buildings, whether it's a platinum. And then all the different gold standards. And so there's also certifications for that as well.
Wow, there's so many complexities to this part of the industry, and this is just one section, right? I think it's important for our high schoolers to kind of just recognize that, you don't have to have a college education to do this, but this is a skill that is so necessary for us all. And not only that, it continues to, this is a career that it seems like it's going to continue to give you great education, continuous learning, just the skills that you need for life, right? This is something that it sounds like can take you from, you know, 18 to 78 if you wanted to. What is the typical age range to start in this? I'm just throwing out 18 there, but if I wanted to, if I'm in high school right now and I wanted to get started here, what age can I start, and what are some things that I should look for in a company to be successful? Wayburn, you want to jump in here?
Yeah, typically that you're right, 18. It's probably a good age, 17, 18. 17, there's some possible restrictions, but for the most part, that 17, 18 range, you should be good. As long as you're in your senior year of high school, we'd be able to get through the red tape, things like that. What was the second part of your question?
If I'm a high school student and I'm listening to you guys now talk about this, the wonderful things that you can learn in this industry, and I say, oh, that sounds like it's for me. What should I look for when I go out there to look for a company? What are some things I should look for in an organization?
I mean, you want to look for safety, number one, because it can be a dangerous industry, but it's rewarding too, because you can drive around the city and say that you took part in building that building. That's a lot that I hear from our field, is that they're proud of the things that they took part in. That's one thing I would say is safety, but also training programs. You want to make sure that they're going to train you. They're going to make you with something that could be potentially dangerous. You want to make sure you know all the ins and outs of your job so that you can remain safe and, make it home to your family. And I hate to keep saying safety, but it's a huge part of this industry. And I'm sure Willie would agree with that.
Oh, definitely.
Willie, can you tell me some things that I should be learning now as a high school student? If this is the industry, if I want to become either HVAC or electrical or plumbing, what are some things that I could be focusing on learning now, either in high school or, on my free time?
If anything that they lack is math. Math is big, especially
today now.
it's math. They struggle. I taught at the apprenticeship school for 13 years, and I taught journeyman and apprentices, and math and reading, the basics, the math, reading, arithmetic. That's the biggest thing. If they can master that, willing to work hard, because it is, just like Rayburn said, the industry, it does take a toll. You're outside in the heat. Sometimes you're fighting the elements. Many times you're fighting the elements, especially with new construction. You're dealing with all the different cycles as far as the building is being progressed. It'll get enclosed. If the HVAC is a little bit behind, the air conditioning ain't coming on for a long time. And now you're working with an enclosed building. It's like a sauna in there. Right. Safety does, just like Rayburn said, it plays a big role, because what we do is very dangerous, and every job is very different. The general contractors do their part as far as, doing job site training, weekly meetings. They will do things on a regular basis. If someone gets injured, they'll have stand downs, they'll have discussions. We're seeing things of stretch and flex, where, we 10 years ago, we never knew nothing about that. All of a sudden, one company in particular brought this in, and they're a Norway company. And all of a sudden, next thing, everybody's doing it, because they're finding out that it matters. By stretching, it helps out, less injuries, and many companies has adopted this. But like I said, as far as the students, the math, reading, and being able to understand that you're going to work with someone, because most times they're going to put you in with the journeyman, and you're going to be working with somebody that's going to be could be as old as your father, and with construction, it's a wide range of demographics from all walks of life, all different countries, but you will see, and this is the beauty of construction, you see everybody working together for the ultimate goal. And the way the buildings start coming in and they start little by little goes from the ground, it starts sheeting, it starts getting closed up, the walls start going up, the brick starts going up. And just like Raymond was saying, there is so much, um, it's a beautiful thing that you walk by. I had a part of that. I worked on that building. I know this. And
That's a
even when you
great.
have your kids and your wives, oh yeah, we're gonna pass by dad's building. They're like, we heard this before, but it's they love it. It's very gratifying.
We've got about 2 minutes left, and so I just want to wrap up with you guys, and just if you can quickly tell us each what brought you to this side of the industry and what keeps you to the MEP trades, like what makes you enjoy your job, just really briefly. Wayburn, if you want to start off, you can.
What brought me here was, oddly enough, recruiting. I was a recruiter in my previous life, so I had opportunity to come work with TV Industries, and I mean, I enjoy it a lot. Getting just like I said, seeing the buildings grow and go from dirt to a 52-story building. That's rewarding to see. What keeps me here is the continuous improvement, technology-wise. I know that everybody doesn't want to go to college or, doesn't feel that they would excel in college, but this creates so many opportunities for both. If you do want to go to college, we have opportunities for you to come in and utilize your college degree. And then, because it's just like regular business, just because it's construction, we still have accounting, we still have everything else, HR, things like that. But if you choose not to go to college, you can come in, start making money. We hired a guy out of high school. He came in, and I think he's been with us 5 years, and we're paying for his college. He wanted to go to college, but he didn't want to go right then. He decided later on, hey, I do want to go to college and become a project manager. So just the opportunities that we have in the industry.
Well, I think that is our time. We've run out. You guys had such great information. I want to thank you.